Are you a entrepreneur and you're saying, gosh, I need help? Maybe you're a small business owner and you work full time. So you're kind of that dualpreneur and there's some things that you don't know how to do in your business and you're saying, I need help. You might be at the place of saying, I'm ready to hire my first employee, or definitely I want to secure contractors. Well, you want to listen in as we chat with Delmar Johnson today, all about your HR needs as it relates to hiring your first employee and also securing contractors to get you some help to make sure your vision comes to pass. We're going to jump right into it right after this quick intro. Don't you move.
Whoa. Why y'all so happy?
You don't know? Sharvette Mitchell is on the radio.
It's time to get motivated, excited, and influenced. Why? It's the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show, live from Richmond, Virginia. And now, here to motivate, excite, and influence you, Sharvette Mitchell.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show, broadcasting live from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia, but heard all across the World Wide Web. We are so excited to have all of you that are joining us live. Listen, 3 different places in Facebook. Shout out to my Facebook community. Hey, girl, hey. Shout out to my Facebook personal page. Hey, how y'all doing? And certainly the Mitchell Productions page. We are glad to have you. Shout out to those that are listening in from YouTube. You might be listening live or catching us later. Welcome to my channel. Go ahead and hit subscribe and hit that little bell so that we can send you a reminder whenever we are live and have some video content. And then certainly LinkedIn, hello on LinkedIn and Twitter. We are glad to have you. And then all of our podcast stations, iTunes and Stitcher and Blog Talk Radio and all the things where we show up across the internet, broadcasting live here from Richmond, Virginia. If you're brand spanking new to me, I'm Sharvette Mitchell, and I'm an online strategist and marketing specialist, and I work with female entrepreneurs, and we sprinkle in a few lucky men to enable them to build their online brands and their platforms so that they generate more revenue. And we do that focused on your marketing, your visibility, and your branding. And this show is one of those outlets. So today I am super excited. Welcome again to all those that are popping on in, saying hello. Go ahead and comment wherever you are coming in from. So that we know that you are here. And if you're checking this out in the replay, hashtag replay, if you're listening from iTunes, go ahead and rate this podcast and show us some love. Welcome to all those. Listen, I got to shout out my mom, Betty. Listen, she's going to always be here, always and forever. Yes. Hello. Listen, we got a whole lot of celebrities in the audience. Bishop Joel Brown, which is my pastor, he is stopping in. Hello. Tony and Winston. Follow the Pink Squirrel. Check her out. And so we are excited today because, listen, oftentimes we speak to a lot of different guests, and you know that we target guests that can really help entrepreneurs and help small business owners. And so some of you might be at a place of saying, I need help. I can't do everything I need to do. I don't know how to do everything I need to do. And so how do I transition? How do I think about bringing on contractors? How do I think about even, oh my goodness, my first employee? How do I think about that? Hey, Brandy, thank you for popping in from Richmond. So let me introduce today's guest who is hanging out in the virtual green room. She is ready to come up and chat. Go ahead and share this out. I know that there are people on your timeline that are, again, small business owners, entrepreneurs, dualpreneurs, working a full-time job and building their empire on the side. I know they need this content. So Delmar Johnson is the principal consultant and CEO of the brand HR Brain for Hire, a boutique HR and public relations consultancy helping growing for-profit businesses and nonprofit organizations to help them build and develop a legacy through the development of their leadership, people, culture, and best practices to help mitigate risk and develop strength-based cultures. Listen, she has over 20 years experience working with big companies, working with nonprofits, small business owners. She's also an Amazon bestseller, and she's the author of HR is Sexy. Listen, I actually have that book, HR is Sexy, The Truth About Human Resources. And then she's also an author of another book and other she's She's co-authored books and shown up in various places. We'll get into all of that. And she has been a featured guest speaker on several platforms, several conferences, shared the stages with people like Dr. George Frazier, Dr. Cindy Trim, Adam Whitty, Lamar Tyler, April Franks. About 3 of them have been on the show. And she's here today to chat with us about your HR needs. Coming up to the mic right now, live, and we're going to find out where she's from. Coming up right now, Delmar, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I hope everybody can hear me.
You are good.
We are good to go. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much for inviting me to the platform.
Absolutely. I think this is such a great topic because it can scare, solopreneurs. If you, and I was a solopreneur for a long time. And so to even think, okay, hiring an employee or getting contractors, I think this is such a great topic, and you are a specialist in this area. So where are you coming in from?
I bring you greetings from Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis is in the house. Memphis is in the house. Wonderful. And so how did you get into this space of, just HR, human resources?
Well, I'll tell you the quick version of the story, but I was 17 years old, actually, when I made the definitive decision that I was going to be in human resources. And that's without me knowing exactly what human resources was at the time in the 12th grade. Every 12th grader is asked, what do you want to do when you graduate from high school or when you graduate from college? So we had the same questions too 30 some odd years ago, okay, about what do you want to do when you finish college? And I I told my teacher definitively, 17-year-old, smart, all those kind of things, like, I'm going into human resources because it has to do with helping people. That was my response to her. Never fledged, didn't stutter. It was definitive that was what I was going to do. So that was, I'm about to tell my age. That was almost 40 years ago.
What? Over 40? Okay, so you barely look 40. So you're hitting and holding. You hitting and holding. And so I think that's amazing that you knew, at a young age, not even really fully knowing what that is, that you wanted to, at the root of it, help people. So can you define human resources? And listen, Tina is popping in. She's an entrepreneur and new book coming out. She's a visionary author. So she's here saying, I need this. Thanks for the love and arts. What is HR? Define that for us.
In a nutshell, HR and how I define HR is about people. Human resources, yes, there's technical sides of it and, some of the things that you just must do to be a sustainable business. But HR for me has always been about people. It's like how you treat people, how you give guidelines for people to operate fully in and be engaged in would make a true difference in your business, no matter the size of your business. But human resources, beyond the technical things that most small business owners are scared of, it really does boil down to people. And that's always been the very core of why I even chose human resources. Again, not knowing fully at that time at such a young age, knowing what it really would be about. That would be not only the technical side of HR, but also the people side. And it's the people side I initially was so attracted to.
Wonderful. And so let's say there is an entrepreneur that's listening and they are solopreneur. So they are, they're doing their business by, might be a consultant, might be a real estate agent, might be an accountant. And so they have come to the point of, I need another set of hands. So let's first deal with contractors. And maybe it would be a good place to start of defining what's the difference? Because there's some very distinct things that people should be aware of. So the difference between a contractor and an employee, let's start there.
Most definitely. And that's probably one of the top 3 questions that I've been asked about throughout my entire HR life, actually, but it's definitely in the last 10 years that I've been supporting startups and small business owners. So let's get straight to that question and answer. So for a contractor, and I'm tell you the difference between a contractor, give you a few pointers around there, and then we'll compare that to what an employee is. So for a contractor, these are the things that you want to keep in mind. First of all, a contractor is not committed to just you. A contractor is going to have several clients, which is the goal for a contractor, to be working or being able to provide their product or service for more than one person. So a contractor is going to have more than one client on their roster that they're going to be supporting their business. Also, a contractor is going to dictate their own time. So they're not on a time clock as you would have with an employee. They're not on a time clock. They can work anywhere, anytime, as long as they are delivering the results that you're paying for. All right. So you're paying for results. They're working, and we're living in a technologically advanced world, right? So somebody could be doing a $10,000 project for you sitting on the beach drinking Mai Tais, but they're delivering the results.
Right.
Paying for whatever that deliverable is. So their location is independent of an office that you run, that you control, or a space. If it's not an office, it may be a space, right? So they're independent of where they work, how they work, when they work, as long as they're delivering the results of what you're paying for. So those are some things you need to keep in mind about a contractor. Now, on the reverse side of that, employees are those where you dictate their time. They have to work within a certain time frame. You're responsible for paying payroll taxes. You are responsible for reporting state and federal unemployment issues. Okay, so you have to report to the unemployment office. In other words, you pay into a pot. Every time you pay someone, you pay into an unemployment pot. So if there is unemployment that has to be paid out, it comes out of that, of unemployment insurance. You are responsible for, if they have benefits, you're responsible for having those in place, and then you take on a certain percentage of what those benefits cost, and other parts of it is passed to the employee. So the employee you need to look at as more long-term, and someone who's committed to really your business culture and wanting to work with you as a company long-term. They're not a short-term fix, if you will. A contractor is more like project-based. There's a beginning and an end time typically with a project, and then you pay them for the results. Whatever the agreement is between you and that contractor, there's usually a service agreement involved where you have signed off on it. So you both are committed to what it is that they said that they're going to deliver. So you want to keep in mind that a contract is vastly different from an employment, because for an employee, you also are governed by federal and state employment laws. And whereas a contractor, it gets real sticky. But certain employment laws are not going to apply to contractors. So there's a very thin line between contractors and employees. And from the 27 years that I've served in human resources, 10 of that has been specifically in the entrepreneur community. And there's been many of conversations that I've had where startups, even established small businesses and entrepreneurs continually use contractors the wrong way.
Okay. So I know a whole lot was just said there. If you're popping in, you're checking out the Sharvette Mitchell radio show, broadcasting live from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia. We are here with Delmar Johnson, HR brain for hire. And yes, so some of this, if you're feeling like, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling just calm, just breathe. Information is knowledge. Information is power. But we want to give you this information because I definitely, thanks Tanya Sloan's attorney, Tanya Sloan is saying yes, clapping it up, coming on in. And so oftentimes people start with contractors, which is certainly fine. And there's like this statistic that's out that there are X amount of businesses that are basically one person, but they don't account that that person could have 10 contractors that they have. So sometimes when you see those numbers out there around how many people are employing people, it does not include contractors. And so a couple of things. So a contractor, let's dig a little bit more into that. And certainly while people are listening and watching, tell them how they can connect with you online and schedule appointments and things of that nature.
Most definitely. Delmar Johnson is everywhere. Okay. So Delmar Johnson, obviously on LinkedIn, we have to use our formal name. Delmar Johnson on LinkedIn. I'm actually on IG as Delmar & Co. Because of my name, I have to kind of switch it up a little bit because there's other Delmars out there. But Delmar & Co. Then, of course, DelmarJohnson.com. So typically I would come up as Delmar Johnson.
Wonderful. And I have tagged. And if you missed any of that, just jump over to Sharvette.com. And we have a great blog post with Delmar and linked all of her information there. And I've tagged on Instagram. Hey, Instagram, who's going to catch this in the replay, and Facebook and LinkedIn as well. So contractors. So a couple of things, and I know in your book you cover a ton of things. I have the book, but just a couple tips you would give initially for an example of some contractors and a couple things that small business owners should think about.
Sure, definitely. Great question. So for contractors, when you're thinking about contractors, usually an entrepreneur startup is going to start off with maybe someone that's doing their social media marketing, their email marketing, and probably doing some administrative work for them. So those are usually the categories that people, so let's deal with a social media manager. Let's use that as an example. A social media manager is very popular among entrepreneurs to start with one of those type of individuals. Well, when you are identifying that social media manager and you're having that conversation, which I hope you are having a conversation with them before you begin working with them, okay? And they're having a conversation with you, and you've identified what it is that you would want them to do as a deliverable. See, it's the language too. It's the language that I try to distinguish between contractor and employee as well. So it's the language, but the deliverables, that's the language that a pure contractor is going to use. And part of that is if they're going to be posting every day, if they're going to be posting once a week, or if they're going to be engaging in your Facebook group as one of your administrators to post your social media in there, whatever kind of social media activities that they're going to be doing, you want to identify those as a deliverable. And please, I implore you to actually have a service contract, a service agreement with a contractor. There's been too many conversations that I've had over the past 10 years where people just hire somebody. Okay, well, I give them an invoice. I give them a detailed invoice. Well, I do both. I'm a pure contractor. I'm a pure contractor as an HR consultant. It's like you get a service, you get a proposal, a service agreement, and an invoice from me. So all three of those come together saying that you are actually a contractor. We have it on paper that these are the deliverables. These are the results that you're going to give me in this particular time frame, say it's a 90-day contract or something like that. And then you pay me according to the invoice that I send you every month.
All right. Great example. And we've got people chiming in saying that right on time. Tanya's like, yes, I'm looking for a social media manager now. And so, and then there are other, graphics and all kinds of, things that we could go down the list. But I think you definitely hit on it, that contract-based, short-term. It could even be a long-term, long-term contractor. But the key is the deliverables, and they get to handle the business however and whenever they want to, as long as they hit their deadline.
Exactly. And let me tell you something else. Let me put a caveat to that, Sharvette, that a lot of times, and nothing wrong with a long-term contract. You're so right about that. But being in a long-term contract position, make sure that you are renewing the service agreement along the way in that long-term contract, or revisiting it or something, have a discussion. Because a lot of times what I found in my experience working with small business owners, that they'll have long-term contractors, nothing wrong with that. But then you begin to slip over and start treating them like employees. Because now it's like, well, he or she has been working with me and contracting with me for the last 8 months, and they just not seem to, doing what I'm telling them to do, or come in or report in when I'm telling them to do it. See, you start mixing up the language.
Yeah.
Start mixing up the language. A contractor is not your employee. So you do not have, so if you say, oh, I have a team, okay, because I use the word team a lot. I have a team, no problem. You have a team of what? Maybe W-2 employees plus contractors, great, that's a team. But you cannot call your contractors, oh yeah, I have 10 employees, but you're giving them 1099s. They're not your employees. They're actual independent contractors who more than likely have other clients that are paying them. So usually, you have to kind of check that long-term contract thing, because the language begins to get mixed up.
Yeah. Ooh, this is good. We're gonna pause right there for a quick station break, because when we come back, I'm going to deal with all, like, the first time, like, okay, I'm ready now to transition to an employee or hiring my first employee. So we're going to let you rest in the virtual green room. Thank you for all those that are popping on in, checking out the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show, broadcasting live from the capital city of Richmond, Virginia. I'm Sharvette Mitchell, and I'm an online strategist, marketing specialist, and I work with female entrepreneurs, and a few lucky men get sprinkled in to enable them to build their online platforms and personal brands so that they generate more revenue. And I do that focused on your marketing, your visibility, and your branding. And this show is one of those outlets. And so we're going to take a really quick commercial break. I do definitely want to shout shout out media sponsors, Swag Her Magazine. You might be listening or watching from one of their platforms. Shout out to Swag Her Magazine. They use positive media and storytelling to create new narratives and mindsets around Black people, our communities, our businesses, and our organizations that we lead. So shout out to Swag Her Magazine. All right, we're going to take a very quick commercial break. We don't want you to move. We're going to be right back. All right. Hey, girl. Hey. Welcome, welcome. All right, I know y'all was bopping to that. I know y'all was bopping to that music. I hope to see you in Richmond, Virginia for my 6th annual pop-up conference, November 4th, 5th, and 6th. I will see you there. All right, so let's jump back on in to this conversation around contractors and employees. And listen, if you are listening in and you're saying, well, I'm not there yet, information is power. Information gives you structure and you know what to look for. But then a lot of yous, as my friends in Boston would say, a lot of yous are there. A lot of yous are engaging with contractors, virtual assistants, and a lot of you are ready to go to the employee level. So let's bring our guest back into the virtual studio. Delmar Johnson is here with us. So let's jump back in. And actually, since I just mentioned virtual assistants, which typically fall in the contractor space. Am I accurate?
Yes.
So a lot, and some of them do the social media piece, but a lot of entrepreneurs will start with a virtual assistant. Anything you want to any nuggets you want to throw out specifically around virtual assistants?
And you're correct. Virtual assistants would typically be considered contractors as well, because usually a virtual assistant has more than one client, and you have allocated maybe they have packages. VAs have packages that they are sell and have set up, so you'll know exactly what your budget should be. So maybe maybe you buy one of their 10 hours a month package, and then those 10 hours they have agreed to certain deliverables per month based around those 10 hours. So VAs, especially those who are really seasoned VAs and have worked with clients over and over again, already have their packages developed, their service agreements and things of that nature. So a lot of times, if you don't necessarily have the service agreement, that VA who's been doing it for a while has a service agreement, and you've bought their package, and they bill you once a month or bi-weekly, however you've agreed to set that up. So they would be considered contractors. And again, those who more seasoned are a little bit more structured, so they already have their packages available. So if you buy 10 hours a month or 25 hours a month, then those are the hours that they are committed to providing you those deliverables.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, the hours. So, you don't have to, those that are watching and listening, you don't have to think, oh, I don't have 40 hours worth of work for someone every week. I don't have 20 hours worth of work, but you might have 10 hours a month. And so I would say start sooner than you think you need to, so that you can kind of iron things out and work through it now. And that's why you connect with Delmar Johnson. You have products, you have books. Let's stick a few. Tell me a couple of products that you have maybe out that people could get. Yeah,
sure. Besides my book, HR is Sexy, which you've already mentioned, The Truth About Human Resources and Why It's Necessary for Your Business. That is in my shop as well. But my digital shop is delmarandco.shop, and I have like HR Startup in a Box, where just about every form you could think of if you're trying to set up and get organized in your business with the different type of forms that you need, like hiring forms, welcome templates. I even have spreadsheets in there that actually help you predetermine what your payroll budget would be for when you begin to paying out money. So I have a lot of great goodies inside the HR Startup in a Box. But if you visit my digital shop, delmarco.shop, I actually created those digital products with the startup in mind when I did them.
Yeah,
so,
you
I
got
continually add to the shop. So delmarco.shop, and just, have a good time there.
yeah, you got contractor,
Yes.
onboarding, offboard, like
Yes.
all the things there. All
Yes.
right. Shout out to our media sponsor, Swag Her Magazine. Thanks for popping on in. Thanks for popping in. All right. And so I'm now at the place of I am ready for an employee.
Mhm.
My first employee. Perhaps have done, the person might be saying, perhaps have had a lot of contractors. Now, what are things to consider? And you already answered some things at the beginning of the podcast, so we won't have to go back, but some things to consider, at least, like, where do I even go to look for people? How do I do a job description?
Yeah, most definitely. That's one thing that you want to start with, is actually, and I call them job avatars. Create the job that you're wanting to actually fill. And they may have already been working in it as a contractor. Now you wanted to convert them to an employee. So that makes it a little bit easier of actually creating that job description, because somebody is already doing it. Now you just want them to be part of the long-term team of your company as an employee. So make sure you have that job description down pat. And then if you're going to have an employee, also make sure that you have some policies in place. You've written down those expectations in policies, because policies give you guidelines, and policies also help you to develop your business culture, helps you to develop that workplace culture, as I call it, for those people that you're going to bring on as W-2 employees. Now, you have to also think about what is payroll taxes going to cost you, getting tongue tied, what are payroll taxes going to cost you. So you need to make sure that you have the budget for it, right? You need to make sure that you have the budget for it. And then, also, make sure that you're ready to relinquish some of the control that you probably had more so as a contractor, as a solopreneur. That's one of the biggest things that I ask, is like, you have to be able to relinquish some of the control and give them the accountability of being able to perform at the level that you desire them to be. They may not perform right off the bat at the level that you need them to. So training is going to be important. You cannot hire somebody and expect them to know how to operate in your business.
Right.
And you're not providing any type of training, or maybe there's some paid training that you can send them to, and you don't necessarily have to do the training, altogether. Or maybe you already have someone on your team can be a liaison for that. But if training is not part of your hiring and onboarding process, you're going to miss out, and that's going to wind up causing turnover quicker than you would desire it to be. So a lot of times say, well, Delmar, I don't have time to train. Well, don't hire.
Oh, that might be an uncomfortable truth. That might be an uncomfortable truth. I see a question coming in from my Facebook group. Rita Moore, thank you for popping in. Do you have letter of agreement templates? And I'm assuming that's for contractors.
If that's for a contract, I usually call this service agreements. I assume that's what they're meaning. Yes, I do have that in my HR Startup in a Box. And when you go to my shop, it'll really kind of jump out at you, actually. But if you go to my shop, you will see individual toolboxes as well as a bundle that's called HR Startup in a Box. And I literally have just about every document that you can think of to start off with, including a letter of agreement, but I call it a service agreement.
All right. Great. Wow. So there's so much that could really go into this. And so do you work one-on-one? If, say, there's an entrepreneur listening saying, I'm ready for that first hire, can they consult with you? How does that work?
Most definitely. They can consult with me. You can go to askdelmar.com. That's something I just recently changed, so hopefully it's going to be working. If not, you actually can hit me in the DM too. If my Ask Delmar doesn't take you to my calendar, and get on my calendar so we can have a conversation, just DM me. I actually do respond to my DMs, especially if you're serious. If you're serious about making the move to actually position yourself as the CEO that you're growing into be, I will answer those DM. But you can go to askdelmar.com and get on my calendar, and let's see what it is that I can support you in. So I work one-on-one. I also do obviously training for groups, small and big organizations. So it's just a lot of things that I'm able to do, and look forward to doing as I as more people hear me, how about that? As more people realize that I exist, to help them really become the CEO that they're in motion and evolving to be.
So should someone call themselves a CEO if they only have contractors, or should they only call themselves a CEO if they have actual W-2 employees? That's kind of a little bit of a thing, I think, that's out in the industry. That's a debate.
Well, you know what? I think, and I've heard that debate too, Sharvette, and I'm at the age, age now where it's like, what is it that you're desiring to be? What are you aspiring to be? Are you going to call yourself what you're moving into, or are you going to call yourself where you're at right now? So you can have a team and be a CEO. Because if we look at the big corporations, the CEOs of the FedExes and the UPSs and the Amazons of the world, do they not have employees and contractors?
Yes,
and they call
do.
themselves CEOs.
All right, there you go. And listen, I know our time is just about up, but I think this is so valuable, and I want listeners and viewers to connect if you're at this place with Delmar, and definitely check out the templates. I've purchased templates. I've purchased her book, so I'm not saying it's from a place of whatever. I've actually purchased products.
Yes, you have.
Yes, valid purchase, not no, give me this so you can be on the show. No, like my money, I purchased it. But one thing I want to leave the audience with, because sometimes small business owners feel like, well, I can't compete with like an Amazon. I can't compete with the FedEx. But I posted in my stories yesterday, and I said I would hit on this. There is a statistic out, and I think it was Forbes. I'll go back in my stories and look, that said 50% of the people that have been working from home now during this pandemic, now that vaccinations are out, now that the world is getting back to a new normal, and they're going to have to go back into the workplace. It was some crazy number, like 50% were like, I'd almost rather get another job where I could work from home instead of having to go stay with the current company and go back into a building. And so I think that highlights perhaps benefits that small entrepreneurs have that can compete. Can you talk a little bit about, you don't necessarily have to have health insurance, and just some kind of benefits we could be thinking about?
Yes, you don't necessarily have to have health insurance right away, right? And most entrepreneurs and startups that's not even on their radar. All right, that's not even on their radar, but there's so many other things that you could do that's outside of the box. And for a small business owner that's trying to find their way, so okay, how can I make it more enticing for the person to come work with me, and I don't have the health benefits in place yet? Maybe 6 months, maybe 12 months down the road. That's quite all right. You have to think outside the box. It could be things like you paying them for their birthday off. Oh, that's a benefit. It could be that once a month you provide lunch. That's an incentive. That's a benefit. Yeah. Like, people like to eat, right? And people like to eat free. Okay. Yeah. These are just some of the simple things. You can have a spa day, or a massage person go to their home, or maybe have a certificate where they'll go to the place and have a massage or something like that. It's so many different ways that you can actually put an incentive package together, from the simplest things to like maybe a little bit more complex things, or things that may be monetary. It could be gift cards. It could be so many different things that you can do to have an incentive. And there's a book out. It used to be called 1,001 Ways to Reward Your Employees. And I actually think they revised it to like 1,501 ways to reward your employees when you don't, necessarily have, or right now, benefits. And, the medical and dental and vision, all those kind of things, because they can be costly, especially for someone that hasn't built their team out yet to where they can get a few more benefits and a few more discounts of the more people that they have as employees on their team. There's variations of benefits that are out there that are really concentrated towards small business owners. But, say for instance, you already have 5 people or 5 employees, you're still a startup, still a small business, but you've been in the position to have 3 to 4 to 5 people as W-2 employees. There are actually benefit plans out there for even a business owner that small.
Yeah. So great, great, great. I wanted to just open up the thought process. And let me clarify, those that are listening and watching, when we're talking about benefits, medical benefits, you as the entrepreneur, I'm saying you need to have benefits. I came out the gate with, I never missed having medical and all that. No, I'm not talking about you individually. You individually need to have medical insurance and all that. We're talking about offering medical insurance benefits to an employee that you might not have that out the gate. But even things like casual, being able to wear casual clothes, being able to work from home, since that statistic was like 50% said they'd rather almost quit. So that's a benefit. So I love the incentive package that we can put together, our own incentive packages, and get out there and secure contractors, hire employees, and all that, and connect with Delmar. So our time is up. I snuck and took more time than I asked for. One more time, all of your connection points, all the ways they can work with you.
Yes, definitely. Hit me up at askdelmar.com or delmarjohnson.com. And if they want to get the book also, they can go directly to hrsexybook.com. So I gave them a couple of different things, but I actually want to give them something free, if that's all right. Let me give them a link where they can download an actual how to onboard successfully. So I gave them, I created a little guide for them just to get them to thinking about the things that they would need to put in. So I'm giving you a short bit.ly link. It's just a bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/keys to onboard. KEYSTO onboard, keys to onboard. And that's a bit.ly link. And you can just grab that for free. Nothing, no strings attached. You just get it, and then it gives you an opportunity to think about the kind of things that you need to have in place in order to create an onboarding experience for people you bring on as employees.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And we'll make sure that we go through all of the different places and copy and paste that bit.ly link if you're watching, and if you are listening, we'll make sure it's in the show notes if you're listening in iTunes and all those places. All right. Well, it is a wrap. Delmar, thank you so much for just sharing and all of the work that you do. I don't really know of anyone else in this space as an HR, brain for hire that helps small businesses. So thank you for being in this space and helping us grow and build empires.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. When you're having a good time goes by quickly.
I mean, it really does. It really does. Thank you again. All right. Thank you. All right, listeners and viewers, that is a wrap for today. So if you missed any portion, you're like, oh, what did she say? Go back and watch watch the replay, listen to the podcast again, and share it with a friend, share it with a biz bestie, and say, you need to check this out. And really the whole purpose of this show is to enlighten you, but this segment in particular, to enlighten your thought process. Again, if you are not there yet, the possibilities, and we are dangerous when we know the possibilities. It's all about knowing the possibilities of what you can and you will be able to do. All right, it is a wrap. Thank you. Connect with me, Sharvette, all over the internet, other than Instagram. Instagram is Sharvette M, because somebody already has Sharvette and they're not using it and I can't contact them. Sharvette.com is the main website for this show, and you can connect and hear and read about all of our guests that are coming up and that are past. And that's that. We'll see you all later on the web. Bye.
Live from Richmond, Virginia, you've been listening to the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show. Get Sharvette Mitchell every Tuesday at 6 p.m., interviewing all the stars you want to hear from. So until next week, stay motivated, excited, and influenced. This is the Sharvette Mitchell Radio Show.